Hey, Sean.
Hey Larry, how you doing?
Hold on a let me find that.
Okay. Wow, that is incredible. Larry, you're so talented.
Thank you. Thank you.
Larry is an incredible horn player and human being. Um, I mean, your resume is so long. I don't think we even have time to go over the whole thing in this hour-long masterclass. But Larry is so, accomplished in the world of classical music, but also plays jazz and all different kinds of music. One of my fondest memories of Larry playing music is we were at the National Festival, and he he was performing for a room full of, how many thousands of kids would you say were in this room?
Couple thousand, probably 3,000. Yeah.
Yeah, probably 3,000. And he decided to put on a one of these Star Wars capes. What would you call that?
It was my Jedi cloak, Sean. Thank you very much.
Jedi cloak. See,
Yes.
I just don't know these things.
It's okay. Stick around. Stick around.
I just got harassed by the interns yesterday for not using the correct font for my meme. So
Oh, yes.
I'm really not in the loop when it comes to these things. But
Okay.
yeah, he took it there. He was Jedi Master, and he played this like medley of
Yeah.
Star Wars. It was the coolest thing, and every kid in that room was just like so taken. That was like, I was like, man, this guy is cool. You know,
I took a
really
shot.
love that. I mean, I knew you were
I took
cool
a shot.
before that, but
That was
but
fun.
I
That
just
was a
thought
lot
that
of
was
fun.
so cool that you weren't like trying to play music that was above some of the kids that maybe weren't as serious about music yet. You were
Yeah.
like connecting with everybody, and I just thought that was super cool. I mean, you could have played anything.
Thanks.
It's all under your fingers, but you chose that, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. But Larry and I have known each other for several years now, and we're both Yamaha artists, which is how we met in the first place. And every time I talk to him, I'm just so taken back by just what an incredible human being he is. And so I am really excited that you guys get to meet Larry today and learn something from him about music, I'm sure. And you'll get a chance to ask some questions later. But Larry, now I know that you were on the faculty at Peabody, right?
Yes, I was on faculty for over 25 years. I'm a Peabody alum, and I taught at Peabody for, as I say, about 22 years. And then 3 years ago, I was offered an opportunity to join the upper administration at Johns Hopkins University. Peabody is part of Johns Hopkins. And so I served as the Assistant Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs for the entire university for the last 3 years, which was, we can have a whole nother class just talking about that experience, but it was a trip. I learned a lot. I mean, I was still teaching part-time at Peabody, and I was still performing and doing my master classes all on the side. They understood that I was a musician, and that was kind of like a stipulation that, yeah, I want to try this, but I'm not giving up my music. And so they let me do it. And I just wanted, I had reached a point in my career where I wanted to grow. I wanted to expand my skill set and my knowledge and my understanding of administration because of all the other things that I do in my music career that are kind of administrative. I wanted to get better at that. So when this opportunity presented itself, I thought, as long as they're okay with me maintaining my identity as a musician, I'll try it. And so I tried it, and it turned out that it was, at first it was really weird. I had to wear a suit every day, and there was, I wasn't even around, other faculty or students. I was just in this administrative building, and we were dealing with kind of university-wide policy and all kinds of stuff that I'd never really spent much time thinking about. So at first it was very, jarring for me to be away from my students and away from my colleagues and my friends and my world. But as I got in there and I started to figure out, as you do when you, go to a new situation, eventually you figure everything out. You figure out who everybody is and what you're supposed to do and what you can do and what the obstacles are and blah, blah. Once I got to that point, I realized, okay, so this is kind of like a really, really weird orchestra. Everybody's got, there's different sections, and within each section you have these different types of people, and it was just like, playing in a new group or in a band or something like that, except I was like the only one that played my instrument. Like everybody else was playing, like the drums and and I was like playing some like Dr. Seuss funkaphone or something. Like people talked to me like I was some kind of three-headed monster. The first thing that everybody said to me at work was, "Oh, you're a musician? Oh my God, that's so, I mean, I don't even understand. How could you possibly, why are you even here? If I could do it," I mean, it was just, that was my life for 3 years. And so my plan was to do it for 3 years, then take whatever I'd learned from it, and then come back to my music career full time and bring that experience to my music career, and that's exactly what I've done. So I still may be doing some teaching part time at Peabody when and if school opens up. But I've since started my own music academy called DMV Horn Academy, which I'm going to kind of run all of the educational things that I do, teaching, master classes and clinics and workshops and things like that. I'm going to run everything that I do through DMV Horn Academy. Even my faculty teaching that I do is going to be connected to the Horn Academy. My goal is to create, if not the first, one of the first national horn studios ever. I want to have a national horn studio. There's just no reason why any of us should be kind of, stuck only dealing with people in our geographic location. And this was an idea I came up with before COVID. It really isn't like this is my response because I can't teach my students in person. This was actually my thinking for years. I've been teaching online for over 10 years now. Just because, I mean, just why not, right? I do clinics, like Sean said, I'm a Yamaha artist, so I do master classes and clinics and perform all over the place. And I love to teach. I'll teach anybody that wants to learn what I can teach them. It just struck me a long time ago that there's the only reason why I can't teach somebody in Indianapolis or somewhere else in Indiana is because of the physical distance between us. But in this day and age, that's ridiculous. We actually don't need to be in the same place. It's not necessarily better. I wouldn't even say it's as good as being in the same room. But you guys know this. I mean, you can get a lesson done perfectly fine virtually. I don't prefer it, but if the alternative is nothing, it's a lot better than nothing. And my students don't mind it. We have to make adjustments, and you guys have been doing that already. You know a lot more about this technology than I do, so you can give me some pointers, please, because I'll be doing this. Even post-COVID, I'm still going to be doing a lot of online teaching and master classes. So it's really, really great to meet all of you. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Sean, for that wonderful introduction. Sean is the best, as you know. And you are in great hands with her. Just whatever you're doing, stick with her. Okay, that's that I could just close my masterclass with that and feel like I did my job because she is amazing. You will find out when you leave how good you had it with her. So here's what I had planned to do today, and you can tell me if it's going to work for you guys or not. First, I'm just going to play something for you. It's a short little piece. Raise your hand if you're a horn player. All right. Alex, my man. Yeah. Okay. So, Alex, have you ever played Kaddish by Lev Kogan?
No.
Good. Play this piece. This piece is called Kaddish, and Kaddish is Hebrew for prayer. And it's a piece that I play when I do master classes because it's written for horn alone. There's no accompaniment to it. And it's written in a way like most pieces for a solo instrument where the performer can kind of take the music and really, the composer expects us to do something with it creatively. But every time I play this piece, I challenge myself to do something that I've never done before. And sometimes I really like what I come up with, and sometimes I really hate what I come up with. So I don't even know what this is going to sound like, but I hope you enjoy it. This is Lev Kogan's Kaddish.
Do you even have to be on it?
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Alex, what do you think?
Better than what I could have done.
Oh, yeah?
Like, I couldn't do that.
But what do you think about the piece? Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, well, it's, look for pieces, and this goes for everybody, it's a really good way of really kind of reaching inside of yourself and tapping into your creativity when you play a piece that's written for your instrument alone. No accompaniment. The first thing that you're going to find is you're going to be presented with the dilemma of, how fast am I supposed to play it? what does this rhythm mean if there's nobody else playing? I mean, why can't I just change the rhythm? I mean, what style am I playing? How loud? You have all of, it's like this candy store is open to you in a way that is not normally open. And it's very difficult when you first try to play a piece like this because you don't really know what to do with it. But you'll start, and what I do is I just play through it and I keep on fooling around with it, and intuitively certain things start to sound right to me in my head, and I stick with those, and then I try some other things, and they sound horrible, and I make note to self, don't ever do that again, and never let anybody hear you do that again. That was really quite disgusting. But you keep on playing around with it. You keep on, experimenting with it. And, regardless of whether you're a jazz musician or classical musician or whatever category you want to say, as artists, as instrumentalists, as artists, our job is to honor what the composers have in mind. But what they want from us is our individual take on their music, right? So they don't really want everybody to play their piece of music the same way. If I call up Lev Kogan and I played that for him, he'd probably roll around on the floor laughing because it probably has nothing to do with what he originally intended, but I don't think he would have a problem, right, with what I'm doing with it. I just think that he would just be like, wow, you took it someplace other than anything I could have come up with. And if he said that to me, I would consider that, as an artist, that'd be like the greatest compliment I could get from a composer, right? Anything but, Larry, don't ever play my piece again. That sucked. I mean, anything but that, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? So, as Sean was saying, I'm 150 years old. I've been around the planet 15 times. And I've done some stuff throughout my career. Everybody's got a story. You guys have a story. Everybody's story is actually really interesting. We just don't usually take the time to tell our stories. So, how I got to where I am, I'll tell you my quick version of my story, right? So, in fourth grade, I think I was in fourth grade, elementary school band. I picked the trumpet because I didn't think I could play anything else. And I was the last chair trumpet player in my elementary school band trumpet section, and that was perfectly fine because I was just in it, to hang out with my friends. And I was quite horrible at the trumpet. Even my mom was like, I don't think that you're blowing into that thing the right way. Like, that can't be right. And she was right. But I stayed with it because my best friend was just a little bit better than me, so we sat next to each other. Got to middle school, and we were still sitting next to each other, still the bottom of the trumpet section. And then one day, my middle school band director said, hey, we don't have any horn players in the band this year, so somebody in here is going to learn how to play the French horn. And I started laughing because I had seen a French horn before, but I'd never heard one. We didn't have one in elementary school. So I was kind of giggling like, man, somebody, I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody's going to play that thing and it's going to sound terrible. And I just laughed. And to my horror, my buddy who's sitting next to me, he raises his hand and goes, oh, I'll try it. And I'm looking at him like, what are you doing? We've got a thing here, okay? We suck at the trumpet, and we sit next to each other in band, and we hang out. That's our thing. Don't mess it up. So he's raising his hand. She comes over. She brings a horn to him. She sets him up. He plays like 2 notes on the thing, and she's like, yeah, good. Yeah, you're a horn player, And then so you're going to sit over here, and you're going to be our horn section. And so he picks up, he moves, he sits down, he's got a horn in his hands. He doesn't know what he's doing. This is in the middle of band. And I'm like, what is this? Now I'm looking around, and my one reason for being in the band just moved across the room, right? So you know what old Larry did. I was like, all right, I'll try your little French horn. I'll do it. And my band director looks at me and she goes, yeah, Larry, and I was like, what is this? And she goes, are you sure you want to play the French horn? And I was like, no, but I'll try it. And so she was like, are you sure you wouldn't want to play the saxophone, maybe the trombone? Now everybody in the band is laughing, right? They're giggling, they're laughing, and I'm looking around like, what is this? My boy plays two notes, and he's thumbs up, he's the horn section. I raise my hand, and she's giving me like, this third degree. So she goes, come after school and we'll see. Yeah. And I was insulted. My friends were rolling on the floor laughing at me. My boy was looking at me like, hey man, I got the magic. And I'm like, what did I do? So I came after school and she sits me down. She goes, oh yeah, that's right, Larry. All right, let's make this quick. She puts the horn in my hands and she's like, this is a French horn. It's kind of like a trumpet, but it's not. The fingerings are similar to a trumpet, but they're not. You blow into it kind of the same, but don't worry. Just see if you can make a sound. And so I picked it up, and I did that, and I made a sound. She was like, okay, so look. C on a trumpet is the same as C on the French horn. 0 vowels. See if you can play a C. And I played a C. And she's like, okay, so now, if you can find that note, let me see if you can find some other notes. And she took me through this process where she told me what fingers to push and told me a couple of things to do. And everything that she told me to do, I could do. It was very, very natural to me. Everything was coming out. And I looked at her and I was like, I like this, number one. Number two, this is so much easier than the trumpet. This is 10 times easier than the trumpet. Now, what I didn't know at that time was that my middle school band director was a professional horn player. Nobody told us that our band directors had other jobs. I didn't know that that was even possible, let alone that she could be a horn player. She never said anything. And she was not only a professional horn player, it turns out that she was a nationally recognized horn teaching guru who had a private studio of 30 students. One of the most famous pre-college French horn teachers in the history of horn teaching. And I didn't know. I mean, to me, she's just my band director, whatever, So she was like, oh my God, you're a horn player. And I was like, okay, let's do that. So I just started to play the horn. My buddy and I continued to play together all the way through high school, got to my senior year of high school. Well, before I got to my senior year in high school, my middle school band director would call me from time to time and ask me to take lessons with her. And every time she called me and asked me if I wanted lessons, I told her no, I wasn't that serious about the horn. I like to play it. I was still playing in band. I like it. But, I'm just not that into it. I'm not going to take lessons with you. And that would be the end of the conversation. I got to my senior year in high school. My friend and I became co-drum majors in our marching band. And everybody's talking about where you're going to college, what do you want to study, what are you going to major in. And at that point in time, I did not know what I wanted to do. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, well, you're really good at that French horn. Why don't you major in music? And I was like, yeah, well, if you could major in music, I guess I probably would major. I didn't know you could major in music. This is how naive I was. It's going to be a theme throughout the rest of this story. Okay, I didn't know. And she was like, yeah, you can major in music. So I didn't know what that meant, so I needed to find out. So I talked to my mom about it. It turns out my older sister, who was 2 years older than me, was a student at Oberlin College. And she was a theater political science major. And my mom told me to call my sister and talk to her because she would know about the music because she was an actress, it's close enough. I called my sister up and I was like, can you major in music? And she's like, you're such an idiot. Now remember, this is my big sister, so I had to put up with this, right? She was like, you're such an idiot. You can major in music. You should come to Oberlin. Oberlin has the best music school in the world. I don't even know why I'm talking to you. You're stupid. I hate you. And all the big sister stuff. Okay, so I was like, okay, yeah, all right, fine. You can major in music. So I went back to my mom and I was like, I want to major in music. And she says, well, you know what you're going to have to do, don't you? And I was like, no. And she's like, you're going to have to call your middle school band director and take some lessons. And that woman's been trying to get you to take lessons since you were a little kid, and she is going to kick your butt. So she made me call her, and I called her, and I was like, I don't think you might not, you probably don't remember me, but, and she was like, Larry, what do you want? And I was like, oh God, here we go. So I had to explain to her that I want to major in music, and I want to be a French horn major, and this is my senior year of high school. I want a French horn major. I have to take an audition of some type, and I need you to help me. So she yelled at me for about an hour and really let me have it for not studying with her all these years. But she agreed to take me on just to get me ready for these 2 auditions that I was going to take. One audition was for Oberlin Conservatory, and because that's where my sister went, and she told me that was a good music school. And I was like, that's good enough for me. Little did I know that was like one of the most difficult schools to get into in the world for horn, but whatever. I'm naive, I don't know. And the other one, I'm from Maryland, I grew up in Maryland. The other school was Penn State. And the reason I picked Penn State was just because I liked watching Penn State football on the weekends, and I thought they had a great marching band, and if I get into this school, I get to march in the blue band, and that is a great marching band. So this is my thought process. Yeah, that's right. You can laugh, let it out. Okay, I can laugh now, but I can assure you, anyway. So I took 2 auditions, and I didn't realize that that was not a smart move to only take 2 auditions. I got to Oberlin, and the first thing that happened at Oberlin was they told me, okay, you have to take a theory placement exam before you take your instrument exam, your instrument audition. And I was like, okay, what's that? And they told me where to go. I sat down in this room with a whole bunch of other kids, and it was like taking the SATs. The guy at the front of the class was like, you have 30 minutes to do this exam. They handed out this book. When you're done, come to the front of the class, hand in your book, and then you'll go to your audition. So I got through the first 4 pages, and I was like, it's not that bad. Key signatures, it was scales. It was really basic stuff that I actually did know. Then, like from page 5 to 95, I had no idea what anything was. I had no idea. Not only did I not know what they were talking about, I didn't think anybody else should know this stuff either. And then I looked around the room, and people were writing. Okay, these kids were writing. They were not just like answering, they were writing music. They looked like they were composing in there. And I'm like, what are you know this stuff? You know this? And that's when I was like, oh man, maybe I should not be here because I don't know any of this. And maybe I'm supposed to know it. So I closed the book and I walked up to the front of the room, and I get to the front of the room, and all of a sudden I hear this real kind of eerie silence. Everybody in the room is now staring at me because they think I finished the exam. They think I've completely finished it, and I'm just like, next. And the guy looks up at me, and he's like, you have like 15 minutes. And I was like, I'm done. And he just looked, and he was like, go to your audition. So I go to my audition, and there's this really famous horn professor. I didn't know he was a famous horn professor because I didn't know any horn professors at that point in time, but he was famous. And he was kind of infamous for being somewhat mean, and I didn't know that either. I wish somebody had told me before I showed up. Anyway, so I go in there and I play my audition. He's got my file. He sees that I've taken lessons for like a couple of months, and I've done no all-state, no youth orchestra, nothing except marching band and kind of middle school and high school band. And I finished playing, and he closes his books, and he looks at me, he goes, Larry, I like you. And I'm going to do something for you that someone should have done for you before you came to see me today. And I'm going to tell you the truth. And he said, Larry, you've been playing for a couple of months, seriously. You're doing some nice things with the horn. You've got a lot of talent, but you should have started years ago. many years ago. And now it's too late. And I just don't think you're going to be able to catch up. So you're not going to be a horn player. You're not going to be a French horn major. You're not going to major in music. But you're a smart kid. I think you're going to be fine. You're going to find a place. You're going to go to college. You're going to get degrees. You're going to be perfectly fine. I can't wait to see what happens to you. But it's just not going to happen. Now, remember how naive I was about all of this stuff. He'd said this to my face, and I was so naive that I didn't really realize what he was saying to me. I thought he was saying I needed to work hard because I started so late. I didn't really get that he was saying, you're not only not coming to this school, you're not going to get into any school. So I left, and my dad, who brought me to the audition, asked me how it went, and I was like, I played pretty good. He said I needed to work on some things. I don't know, we'll see what happens. And my dad's like, yeah, well, okay, we only have one more school. I mean, I hope it goes well at Penn State. So we go to Penn State, and everything is completely different. First, there's no entrance exam. I go straight to my audition, and instead of going into the horn professor's studio, I went into a band room, and there was like 15 people at a table. I'm talking about the marching band director, the blue band, the symphonic blue band, the pep band, the band, whatever. 25 ensembles they got at Penn State. All of those directors were at the table. I was like, I felt like I was playing a concert. It was crazy, terrifying for me at the time. So they were like, yeah, good to see you. Sit down, play your stuff. I played okay. And at the end of the audition, the chair of the audition committee said, Larry, could you step outside for a moment? We need to talk. And I was like, oh, here we go. I did something. I said something. I was immediately like, what did I say something? Did something slip? I don't recall saying anything. Or did I play the wrong music? What did I do that I'm in trouble? So I went outside, stood out there for a couple of minutes. They came out, they brought me back in, and he said, Larry, we loved hearing you play, and we're going to offer you a full scholarship at Penn State. We want to see you here in the fall, and we just love you so much, and hope that you'll decide to join us. And you'll be getting some information from us. Sit tight on that. We have more auditions to do, but thanks for coming. And I was like, okay. And again, I didn't realize how crazy that was, right? So I go out, and my dad says, okay, how did it go this time? And I was like, it went really well. Went pretty good. And he was like, okay, so what did they say? And I said, full scholarship. And my dad's like, seriously, what did they say? And I was like, full scholarship. Full scholarship. And my dad's like, I've taken you to Ohio. I brought you up here. This is not funny. I'll take your butt in there with me if you don't tell me what they said, and I'll make them tell me to my face what they said. And I was like, you want to go in there? Let's go. You want to go? Let's go. So he's like, let's go. So we go back into the building, knock on the door. The guy comes out, and I was like, and he was like, oh, is this your dad? Mr. Williams, so great to meet you. Your son's terrific. We loved him. Did he tell you about the full scholarship? Yeah, so, that's going to happen. And we really want to see him. I told him that, you guys have to sit tight. We have other auditions, and we have some scheduling things to do. You're going to get a letter. We'll work everything out so he can be here. We really hope to see him, in fall. And my dad was like, oh, okay, great. So we both left, and, we shared like the best father and son afternoon that we ever had in my entire life. Just kind of hanging out at Penn State and just laughing, and he bought me all the food I wanted to eat, and it was great because he knew he didn't have to pay for my college, and I was like, I'm going to college. So flash forward, when I got to the school, that was the first time where reality actually hit me in the face. I heard horn players, older horn players, more experienced horn players, playing the horn in a way that I'd never heard anybody play it. And I thought to myself, oh crap, I'm never going to be that good. I screwed up. I'm not going to be able to hold this scholarship. I'm going to get kicked out of here. So I started practicing for the first time in my life really, really hard. Really hard. 3 to 5 hours a day if I could get my hands on my horn. Plus I was playing, because I was on scholarship, I was playing in a million ensembles, so I was playing the horn virtually all day long. The reason that I got the scholarship was partly because they had just graduated like 5 French horn majors. So it just happened that they were desperate for undergraduate French horn players. So when I kind of came bebopping in and say, I got a French horn, they were like, a scholarship! You know, I mean, I had to play, but I'm just saying, you know, I think my sister could have gotten in on French horn that year, and she didn't play the French horn. I shouldn't say that. That's not true. But you know what I'm trying to say. I was lucky. I was very lucky. And I eventually found out how lucky, I realized how lucky I was. And my mom told me, you know, you've got this scholarship. Don't lose that scholarship. Don't go up there and do anything stupid. You better keep those grades up and do what they tell you to do. March in that band. You do whatever you need to do. You better keep that scholarship. I'm like, basically, she's like, you're not coming home. Okay, keep the scholarship because you will not have anywhere else to go if they kick you out. And of course, that stuck in the back of my head. So I worked really hard. And after 2 years, I was playing in the graduate brass quintet, and I was playing with some of the faculty groups, and some faculty members came to me one day and they said, Larry, you know, as much as we love having you here, you've got a special talent, and we are actually going to recommend to you that you transfer to a conservatory because we think that you actually could make it as a performer, and this is probably not the best place for you right now. If you don't want to do that, we're happy to have you, but we want you to be successful, and you might be better off someplace else. I didn't even know how to take that, but I started looking into it. Long story short, I transferred to Peabody for a lot of reasons. I was still very naive. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it turned out to be a good choice. I got my bachelor's degree and graduate performance diploma, and then I won an audition for New World Symphony in Miami right out of school. I went to Miami for 2 years. In my second year playing with New World, I got my first college teaching appointment at Florida International University. I was also starting to freelance in Miami in addition to playing in New World. So I was playing in Miami City Ballet. I got to play with Arturo Sandoval's band. I got to tour with Frank Sinatra's band. I got to go to the Super Bowl. All this stuff started happening, right? And I had, you know, my college teaching job, and I had New World Symphony, and I was doing all this stuff outside of New World that I probably wasn't supposed to do, but I loved the horn, and I just wanted to play, and I did. So New World Symphony, you can have 3 years in your fellowship. And after my second year, I decided to leave the orchestra and pursue my college teaching career / chamber music freelancing career full-time. I did that for another 3 years, eventually moved back to Baltimore, where Peabody is located, started teaching at Peabody, and then from that point, you know, for the next 15 years, I built my career. And so now I play in several orchestras. I play in a professional brass quintet. As I told you, I'm running this horn academy now. I've probably done almost everything you can do with a horn in terms of orchestra and chamber music and ballet and orchestra and musical theater. I love it all, and I love to teach. Teaching is equally as passionate something that I do as playing, which makes me somewhat of a weirdo because the people that I know that really, really focus on performance, most of them don't teach much. And the people that really, really focus on teaching, they don't perform much. So there are some of us, like Sean, you know, there's a small group of people that actually do both. And we like to do both. And we do them because we are passionate about both. And so you don't have to make that choice. And I refuse to make that choice. And now I'm glad that I've never made that choice. So, I'm old now, and my students have students, and and they have still. I'm like a great granddaddy teacher now, and so it's very gratifying to see what some of my former students have gone on and done with their lives, and because of the way my really weird journey to becoming a musician, I'm not the person that's ever going to tell anybody they can't do anything, because I basically did everything wrong that you could do, and I still ended up just fine. Now, I'm not saying you should do everything wrong too, and it'll work out great. What I'm saying is everybody has their own journey, and everybody's journey looks different. And one of the things that makes everybody's journey different is the introduction of people into your lives that affect what happens to you next. For example, if my buddy hadn't raised his hand in middle school to try this, I would not be speaking to any of you today. I would not be here. I'm not saying I wouldn't be alive. I'm just saying I wouldn't be a horn player, okay? I wouldn't have vanished off the face of the earth, but I wouldn't be a horn player. I don't know what I'd be, but I can tell you I wouldn't be a musician. And then if my middle school band director hadn't been like one of the best horn teachers in the world, I probably wouldn't have gotten good enough without lessons to even be talking about auditioning for college in my senior year without lessons. And on it goes. And so in your life, these relationships and things and events that happen to you, same as me, you can't really notice them when they're happening, It's only when you look back, it's like, oh yeah, that's true. That day that I skipped school and I got in trouble and then I met this girl or whatever it is. These things happen throughout your whole life. So everybody's journey is interesting, and it's magical, and you don't really know when you're making decisions necessarily if you're making the right decisions. The only advice that I ever give people is listen to your gut. Most of the time, I listen to my gut, even when people told me, you're not making a smart decision. When I didn't go to New World, when I left New World Symphony after 2 seasons, a lot of people were like, you are throwing your career away. You are wasting this great opportunity. I don't know what you're thinking about. Same thing with, going to teach or going to the provost office at Hopkins. Those are decisions I made where I really just internally felt like, even though they are scary decisions, I'm supposed to do this. I felt like I really should pursue this and see what happens. And what I've learned is that it's not so much about achieving your goals and your dreams. It's important to have them, and it's important to go for them, okay? What's always more important than getting to that goal is what happens on the way to that goal. One of three things is going to happen to you. One, you're going to achieve your goal, and within minutes of achieving that goal, you're going to look around and go, yeah, okay, I did that. So I guess I got to do another goal. Or you will not achieve that goal, and whatever. You didn't achieve the goal. I mean, what? Now you have to go on with your life, and you'll choose other goals. Or the thing that I really love is what I call the X factor will happen. On your way towards a goal, a person or an event or a thought will happen, and it will completely change your plan. And a lot of times, that X factor will send you on a path towards a goal that is infinitely better than your original goal. I look for the X factor. Okay? The X factor is the story of my entire career. Right? I like the X factor better than the goals that I set. But one thing that I've learned is that for you to bring the X factor into your life, you have to actually be headed someplace. You have to actually be going towards a goal. Otherwise, the X factor doesn't seem to show up. It only shows up when you're trying to do something, right? Where you're walking towards something or you're working towards something. Then the X factor pops into your life all the time. You don't even necessarily always recognize it, but it's there. When you sit around and you're like, I don't know, whatever, that's fine. It's just that's generally speaking when the X factor kind of just leaves you alone for a while. So it is important to set goals and go for them, but it's not, to me, and I'm only speaking for myself. For me, it's not that important that I achieve all of the goals that I set, because I know that as I'm working towards my goals, I'm learning and growing, and I'm also creating opportunities for other people and situations and thoughts to come to me that will actually take me to things that I didn't intend on doing. I didn't actually set out to be a French horn player or a French horn teacher or recording artist or a Yamaha artist or any of this stuff, but it happened because of all these other things, right? So listen to your gut, and nobody follows their gut 100% of the time. I'm not even saying that your gut is always right. All I'm saying is, don't ignore that voice in your head. That voice in your head that tells you to do smart things is really, really smart. And the voice in your head that tells you to do stupid things, yeah, that's pretty stupid stuff. Don't do it, all right? But the bottom line is still the same. Like, set a goal, go for it, see if you are headed towards it. Look and see, am I going towards this goal? Am I treading water? Am I getting further and further away from my goals? Do I even want this goal anymore? I mean, that's another thing that I talk to my students about all the time, which is you need to kind of take time to kind of hit the pause button and ask yourself, do I even really want this anymore? And if the answer is no, then ask yourself some more questions and figure out a better goal, right? Because your brain is a supercomputer, right? And so the way that it works is if you ask yourself a question, your brain will come up with an answer. If you frame that question positively, your brain will come up with a positive answer. If you frame the question negatively, your brain comes up with a negative answer. You can ask yourself, what is 1 trillion times 250,000? Your brain will come up with an answer. The answer might be, I don't know, but I could find out. But if you ask yourself specific questions, I mean very specific questions, your brain gives you specific answers. So, how do I get better at playing the French horn? That's a positive question. It's a perfectly harmless question that people are asking it all over the world right now, right? My brain's like, well, you can practice. You can listen to recordings. You can get a book. You could talk to somebody who knows how to do it. But if I ask myself, how can I get better at playing the French horn between 3:30 and 3:45 this afternoon? Now the answers go from you could prep to you would need to actually sit down, focus, and do 1 or 2 things. See that? So the way that you ask yourself questions triggers a response. If you ask yourself a negative question like, man, why can't I hit this high C? Why can't I hit this high C? I don't understand it. Your brain's going to be like, well, first of all, you can't hit it because you stink. Okay? Second of all, you've got a bad horn. Okay? Third of all, you don't know how to play a high C. I don't know if anybody's told you this, but we don't know how to. But if you ask yourself, what can I do to be able to play that note consistently? What can I do today that will take me from where I am now 2 steps towards being able to play high C? Your brain comes up with answers depending on how you ask the questions. And people who ask themselves questions are people who have the ability to learn and grow very, very quickly. Okay? So there's 2 things that I always tell people, that you should get good at. 1, asking really good questions of yourself. Okay? The other is asking really quality questions of other people. And that's tricky, because let's say you're introverted or you're shy, you just don't, whatever. It's hard sometimes to ask questions. You don't know how people are going to respond. You don't know if they're going to like being asked or whatever. But I'll tell you this, now that I'm old, I can talk like an old man, and I can say that in music, the most famous musicians that I've ever met, and I've met some really, really famous people, and played with some too, have been the most generous people with their time. You will find that every single time. The people who you think won't give you the time of day, if you ask them a quality question, they're going to answer your question. And one of the reasons that they're going to be happy to do so, one of the reasons that they're very likely to do so is because part of the reason that they're where they are is because they were you. And at some point in time, somebody told them something, right? And so they want to pay it forward. Somebody helped them out. Somebody told them something. They don't want to hoard it all to themselves. It's actually the opposite. They want everybody to get to enjoy music on the level that they get to enjoy it. And so they're very, very generous. But you have to have the courage to be willing to step out and say, I've got a question. What do you think about this? Or how can I do this? Or how did you do this? So when you're in master classes or a band or a youth orchestra or jazz band, whatever you're in, ask quality questions, okay? At the right time, right? Don't interrupt a rehearsal and be like, I've been thinking about wind energy. Let's discuss, okay? If you do that, that's fine. Just don't tell them that I told you to do that. Or leave my name out of it. Thank you. But, ask quality questions. All right, so on that note, this is a good point for me to stop talking. And this is your class. I want to learn a little bit about you and answer any questions that I might be able to answer that you might have. So anybody, just fire away. Don't be afraid.
Hey, I have a question from a student that couldn't tune into the master class, but he asked me, he's going to watch the recording afterwards, so he wanted me to ask this question for him. This is from Aldo, and he wants to know, how hard is it for a person of color to survive in the music industry? How can I overcome these obstacles? And how do I fight racism and discrimination in classical music?
Yes, good questions, timely questions. It's hard for anyone to have a career as a professional musician today. And there's a lot of reasons why that is true, but that is true. Number one, there's just a lot of competition and there's not as many jobs. All right, so it's really basic supply and demand. Then on top of that, the music industry is one where people are judged very subjectively. Music is not quantitative, and so it's not as if I can take a test and get a test score or a degree and say, hey, I hit 1080, where's my job? Okay? It's more, can you play your instrument really well, number one, as well as these other people, if not better. Number two, do I like you? Because if I don't like you, I'm probably not going to want to make music with you. And depending on the kind of job that you are going for, some jobs, like an orchestra or even a chamber ensemble, you're working with people every day, all day long. If they don't personally like you, if they have a bias against you or the type of person that you are, you might be able to play music, but it will be somewhat of a miserable experience. And that happens. And so because of that, people sometimes allow their biases to decide who they're going to bring into a group and who they don't want to bring into a group. It's not all about how well you play. It is also about who you are and who the people are that are potentially hiring you. So that adds another layer of complexity as to why it's difficult. In terms of being a person of color, oh yeah, in classical music, I mean, you got to understand, you know, for me, I have been, if not the only black person in ensembles that I've played in throughout my life, one of a few black people in ensembles, in pretty much every ensemble that I played in that aren't like all black ensembles, okay? So how has that affected me? It affects me, it has affected me in a lot of different ways. And none of them, I don't regret any of them, but yeah, you have to understand that there are some people, regardless of your background, who are going to judge you beyond your ability to play, right? And it's not even just for black folk. It's across the board. People judge people on all kinds of different levels. I have learned to meet people where they are, right? That doesn't mean that I don't try to influence people to change in a positive way. It just means that, you know, if I step into an orchestra or I play in a group and I pick up on some, you know, some negativity, I just accept the fact that, you know, this person might be different than me. Maybe they don't like me. But I know a couple of things. One, I know that I can play the horn, okay, and what I'm there to do, I can do the job, number one. And that's what I'm going to do. Number two, I'm a nice guy. I'm not there to fight you. I mean, I'm a French horn player, man. I mean, you know, I'm not there to battle. I'm there to play music. When I play with other people, my goal is to connect with those other people because I can't get into my zone where I really have fun unless I'm in the zone with my friends and my colleagues and the people that I'm playing music with. So I intuitively start to reach out immediately when I'm playing my horn. So for example, let's say I'm freelancing and I get hired to play in an orchestra and you know, whatever. I'm the only black person in the orchestra. The orchestra's been together for 200 years and there's a, you know, they had to hire me because their principal horn player, you know, fell off a mountain or whatever. And I'm the total new guy, okay? I'm the new guy, right? As soon as I get in there, you know, I kind of start to talk and figure out, you know, where are my allies and where is there danger? And I kind of map that out. But once we start playing, I feel like I'm actually in charge because once we start playing in that horn section, as soon as somebody in that section does something good, I'm shuffling my feet. I'm shuffling my feet, okay? And most of the time, they've never seen that before, all right? As soon as somebody, you know, we have a break in rehearsal, I'm the guy leaning down on the section going, yeah, man, yes, yes, we are going to dominate this orchestra, right? It's all about the horns, baby. It's all about, so that's what I start to do. And most of the time, people put that crap aside and it's like, oh, it's fun to play with this guy. He's crazy, but it's kind of fun to play with this guy. And if I get that, now I'm in the door and I've got a shot. Doesn't mean I get along with everybody, but I try to use the music. I try to use this thing that we do that is supposed to be about connecting. It's like, you know, you would think that the musicians, of all people, the musicians should be able to get along. But people are people, and people have biases and prejudices and all kinds of things. They bring that to music too. But if you understand that the whole point of playing music is to connect with other human beings, that's the point. It's not actually about the music. I mean, I've heard people say it's all about the music. It's not about the music. It's not about the French horn. It's not about the music. It's not about the composer. We use music to connect as human beings. It's a universal truth. There is no culture that doesn't make music. It's part of being a human being. Even if you don't play it, Put a baby in front of a speaker, turn on the music, sit back and enjoy the show. They're going to start moving. They're moving. Okay? We can't help but respond to the vibrations and all that stuff. So we need to understand, as musicians, that we have this gift. We are the people that are supposed to be good at connecting people back together the way we're supposed to be. So that's part of my mission, as a horn player and as an artist. That's what I try to do wherever I go. There's all kinds of real world stuff out there that you have to deal with. So it's not easy, but nothing has stopped me. Nothing has stopped me. I have a lot of friends all over the world, and who would do anything for me, and I would be there for them in a second. Musicians, we do share, a certain bond with each other, and it's really, really nice to have this family of people that I can call on wherever I go, and you guys are part of that family. So that's about as much as I can say on that question. What else? Yes.
Hello.
Elliot.
My name's Elliot. I know Sean through IU. I study with Jeff Nelson right now.
Fantastic. Awesome.
I wanted to ask you how, and this can apply to undergrads too. I'm about to start my search for grad schools, and this can apply to undergrads, but how to approach the grad school auditions and getting lessons with people during this whole COVID process.
Yeah, that's a good question. And before I'm going to answer it, and before I answer it, let me just preface it by saying everything I'm going to tell you is just my personal opinion. Get as many opinions as you can, just like you're doing today. You're doing the right thing. That's part of my answer is you're already doing it by asking smart questions. What I tell folks is for undergrad school, what's important is that you're looking for someone, a teacher, who is going to help finish off your technique and position you for grad school. For graduate school, your technique and your horn playing is pretty much done. You will need to continue to get better like everybody for the rest of your life, but you really should know how to play the horn by the time you get to grad school. In graduate school, you're looking for a teacher who can actually help you get a career going. The two things are not the same. Now, in your case, your undergraduate teacher is both a fantastic teacher of the horn and also a fantastic mentor, right? Some teachers are both. Others are just good at one or the other. For grad school, what you really are looking for is a mentor. A mentor is someone who can now start talking to you about how you, on your path, can get from grad school to becoming a working musician, right? So that's, when you do your research on grad schools, don't spend a lot of time looking beyond, like, if I get into this school, how many ensembles am I going to get to play in, right? How much playing am I going to do? For grad school, you need to be playing in ensembles. It doesn't do you much good if you're going to be a performance major to go to grad school and you only get to play like one concert, a semester. So wherever you can get, whatever school will allow you to play a lot, that's a good thing. Number two, in terms of a teacher, look for the mentors, right? Look for the people like Jeff that are really great players, right? That's good. Really great teachers, that's excellent, but you need a mentor to help you over the next couple of years formulate your strategy and position you to have a career. Because in a couple of years, you're going to be out here with me in the real world, brother. And we want to make sure that you, for these next couple of years, are not just getting better at playing the horn, as we've been talking about. You need to be getting better at your networking skills. You need to be going to festivals and master classes and exposing yourself to professional horn players, because it's a who you know business, right? Mark my words, Elliot. One day in the future, you and we're going to do something together. You might be auditioning for something. We might be sitting next to each other on a gig, but it's very, very likely that our paths will cross again. You are making a great impression on me by asking a great question while you're driving your car, and I hope you don't crash, okay? But that to me is like...
I'm sitting passenger. It's okay.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. That's even better. That's even better. But I'm just saying, I mean, you're in a car. To me, like, note to self, Elliot is not fooling around. Okay? He's serious. So this is really important. These are the little things that you can do that could set up the rest of your career. I'm not saying I'm going to give you a career. What I'm saying, though, is that asking good questions and putting it out there is really important. In terms of getting lessons, you know, even before COVID, you know, depending on who you want to study with, you know, it's not that hard. You know, I don't know if you've had problems or you just haven't reached out yet, but I was just making the point that most people in our industry that are really good, they're generally pretty generous with their time. Most professors are pretty generous with their time. It's in their interest to give you a lesson, right? Number one, they are recruiting too, right? They want the best horn players and horn players that fit with what they do, and it's going to make their studio better and la 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 la. You are the other side of the coin. You want the other side of the coin. You want a great teacher, a great graduate experience. You want to set yourself up for a career. So, you know, if you find a school that you're interested in and you try to get a lesson and you can't, to me, like, that's a little bit of a red flag. It's not a don't go to that school. Well, the teacher might just be really busy, but the teacher might just be really busy. Did you hear what I said? The teacher might just be really busy. See, and if the teacher is really, 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 really busy, you might not get that much out of that teacher. They might be a great player. They might have a great studio, right? Because everybody that gets in is already good, but you might not get that much from that teacher. So, yeah, I think it's really, really smart to look for the lessons, number one. Number two, let's face it, I mean, people have time now. Where are you going? I mean, it's like, I don't understand, like, I don't know who doesn't have time to give you a lesson, but, you know, just ask them for a lesson and get on their schedule and take the lesson. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
That was great. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. Good luck. I'll see you again. Alex.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I'm going to my senior year when I'm starting to do like college applications and all that.
I can't help
I still have like some uncertainty of like whether or not I want to keep doing music.
Yeah.
You know, like when did you know that you wanted to do music? Like when did it click for you?
Well, remember, like, I'm not the guy, man. You are like me. It didn't click for me, Alex, until I got into college. It clicked for me my freshman year of college. That's how late it clicked for me. It clicked really hard. It was a harsh click. I mean, it was a snap. It was a cold slap in the face. But it didn't click for me until college. I have to be honest with you. My life would have been a lot easier if it had clicked in second grade like some of my friends, you know. So don't worry about when it clicks. What I would say is the music industry is one of the few industries where you really are expected to choose early, right? Like, you don't have to choose to be a doctor when you're in high school, you know. But in music, if you don't choose early, then you can fall behind. But remember, I was behind and I caught up. So there's ways to overcome. What I would say is, you're a junior now? Is that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, going into senior.
Senior.
Like this year, yeah.
And you're considering music, but you're considering other things too, right? What are the other things you were considering?
I was like looking into like possibly doing like a history major, but like I want to like try to minor in music, but I just don't know like whether or not like I would just go all in into music or like split it up. I don't know.
The only reason to go all in to music is if you want to either teach music or perform professionally. There, you can find out very quickly if the schools you're looking at have minors available. Any school that has a horn minor will be more than happy to have you in that program. It's just an instrument where there's just not enough good horn players and not enough motivated horn players. I don't care what school you're looking at. So that's a plus. But you don't have to get a music degree, and I say this to people frequently, you don't have to get a music degree to continue playing music, right? That's not why you should get a music degree. You can play the horn, in multiple ensembles. For example, remember I told you I went to Penn State for 2 years? I played in the orchestra at Penn State, and 85% of the Penn State orchestra was non-music majors. People who were engineers and history and pre-med and all kinds of stuff. They were good enough to be music majors. They just chose other majors, but they kept on playing all the way through college, right? So, keep asking those questions. You're asking a good question of yourself. Narrow your question down, and I think that you're going to come up with more specific answers. For example, how could I major, what should I major in where I can continue to play my horn, continue to take lessons, play chamber music, play in an orchestra, and major in something like history or something else? How could I accomplish that? Ask yourself that question. The answers will come. I mean, a lot of it's just research, really. But don't worry about it, because you can do what you're talking about doing. You'll be fine. You'll be perfectly fine.
Thanks.
Yeah. Very good. All right, anybody else? All right, Sean, how are we doing on time?
We're a couple minutes over, but Connie, didn't you have a question you wanted to ask?
I lost it.
Oh,
This is why
okay.
I always write it down.
It's okay. When you think of it, Sean can give you my contact information. If anybody has any questions or you need anything from me, shoot me an email or go to my website or anything. I'm online. You can find me. I'm always here for you guys. With anything that you need from me, just let me know. And I really do mean that. I'm here because people who are older than me were really generous with their time with me. And I've had a really great experience being a musician, and I love it very much. And so I'm going to give anybody who asks everything I got, because that's what was given to me, okay? All right, you guys, good luck. Keep playing music.
Larry, this has been incredible, and I am personally inspired now. So, thank you. Thanks for teaching us how to ask ourselves all the right questions, and
Okay.
you just gave us such a wonderful, unique, new perspective, a new way to approach everything about our lives. I learned so much more today from you about life, and this was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You guys take care. Take care.
Keep in touch, Larry. Thank you.
Will do. Will do.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.